there, welcome back to my channel. Today, I think, is Thursday, June 27th. My Apple Watch confirmed that. I got home yesterday from the ISTE conference in Denver, which means today is Operation Get My Life Back Together after traveling. While I was gone, I did get my ESL certification exam results, so we'll chat about that. I also have a new obsession I want to share with you, and then we're gonna map out the month of July because it's gonna be a crazy month. I feel like whenever I do these get ready for the next month with me vlogs, I always have my cup of coffee, but it is empty today. I had to consume it ASAP. That's one of the top things I miss when I travel. It's my home cup of coffee. But as I mentioned, I just got back from the ISTE 2024 conference. The last time I went to ISTE was 2019 when it was in Philly. Bridget and I actually got to present a session together. It was really nostalgic looking back at pictures of that. But this year, I actually attended as a learning guide for the Figma for EDU booth to be able to chat to people about FIGJAM, which if you missed my tutorial video, I posted it a few months ago. FIGJAM is a free online digital whiteboard that is a replacement tool for Google Jamboard. I literally found it because I was looking for something to replace Jamboard and I fell in love with it. And so getting to be there at the booth as someone who just genuinely loves this free tool for teachers was a lot of fun. First of all, the Figma team was just a lot of fun. The booth was fantastic. We handed out swag. I led like on the spot interactive demos for people who walked by and wanted to learn more. I presented some sessions in their teaching theater. I did one called Organizing Infinity and Beyond, which was all about being able to structure this infinite canvas because unlike Jamboard where you have a single frame, FIGJAM, you have as much space as you need. So I focused on some organization strategies for that. And I also did one called The Ultimate Teacher Time-Saving Tool, which was all about transferable templates. So working smarter, not harder, and being able to create things that you can use in a lot of different ways in your classroom. They also did these digital caricatures, which I've not had a caricature done since I was a kid in San Francisco, and it was really cute. I'll put a picture of how mine turned out. I thought it was adorable. We also had a rock, paper, scissors competition going on. So you would get a set of beads, and then if you saw someone else with a set of beads, you would challenge them to a game of rock, paper, scissors. They couldn't say no. Whoever won got to keep all of the beads. And then at the end, we had this final like showdown for prizes. And already my teacher brain was like, ooh, how could I work this into the classroom as an activity? All of the ideas. But I will actually have some more FIGJAM videos coming as we get closer to back to school. So stay tuned for those. And then I enjoyed Denver. I have never been to Denver. I've flown in and out, but I haven't spent time there. And because I am a big introvert, I just needed to decompress at the end of each day. So once ISTE would wrap up, I would go for like a 5 or 6 mile walk around Denver, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, speaking of walking, I'm gonna get some steps in on my walking pad. So if it's bothersome to you to see me bopping around, you can just listen to this part. You don't have to watch. But on Tuesday, while I was out for my decompression walk, I got the email with my ESL certification exam results. So I took the exam last Friday, and then I knew I was gonna get the results on Tuesday, and I was trying to decide, do I open them or do I wait until I get home? Because if I don't pass, I'm gonna be really bummed, and it's gonna not ruin the trip, but it's gonna bring the mood down a little bit. However, I had just picked up my kava for dinner, was walking home, saw the email, and I was like, I just gotta open it. So if you can't tell by my smile, I am very happy to announce that I did pass the exam, yay. Honestly, it's just a big relief to have it off of my plate, to not have to spend more time studying, to not have to pay to take the exam again, because it was almost $120. What's ironic is I actually got the exact same score on this one as I did on the Science of Teaching Reading exam. But once I got back to the hotel, I had to submit, I guess it's like an application to have the actual certification added to my certificate, which was another $78. So all in all, it cost basically $200 to get the certification. But it's another box I can check off. I feel good that I got it done. I am happy that I studied because I feel like it would have been a lot more iffy if I would have passed. Like I had plenty of leeway with my score, but I feel like if I hadn't studied, it would have been a little iffy. And I got nervous because I was reading comments and people are like, that's the hardest test I took. And I'm like, ugh, I don't know how I feel about this. But next thing on the list to kind of focus on is getting my 30 hours of tag training. And yes, thank you to everyone who corrected me in the comments of the video when I called it a certification. It's not a certification, it's just you have to get the 30 hours of training. Listen, y'all, my brain is operating at a very minimal capacity lately.
Well, maybe you should look in the smart part of your brain.
So I will probably say things incorrectly. I'm human, I'm learning along the way. But I am going to complete the 30 hours with 5 in-person training days in July. I do have the option to complete it virtually, but I feel like I'd rather just be in person, knock out the 5 days, get it done. So the first day of training will be July 11th, and then there's like 3 days the next week, and then 1 day the week after that. But I will have that done prior to the school year starting, and then obviously I have my ESL certification prior to the year starting. So all in all, very happy. But since I mentioned having to pay for the exam and then also the certification, let's chat about my June no spend month. So if you've missed it, every month of the year, I'm setting a different goal for myself. And my June goal was to have a no spend month, which people can do in a lot of different ways. The rules I created for myself was no spending outside of my bills because I have to pay my mortgage and my insurance. And then I set a budget for food for the month for both Billy and I. He didn't really have a choice. He was kind of voluntold that that's what we were doing, but no extra expenses outside of that. Now, depending on your opinion, you may think that I failed this month. I'm giving myself a pass because the things that I did spend money on outside of what I already detailed were necessities, or rather connected to the new job. So let's go through it. I will say I'm very proud of Billy and I for sticking within the grocery budget. So we ended up spending a total of $229.98 on groceries for the month, and that's between the two of us. And then we spent $112.61 on eating out, which gave us a grand total of $342.59. My budget was to stay under $400. Going back to the eating out, so the $112.61, that did include coffee dates with friends. So I went on 2 different coffee dates where I bought coffee for myself and the other person. And then I went to Chewy's with my team teachers. And then Billy and I, we got dinner out at a food truck one night. And then we also did a nice dinner out. I'm reading off of my phone because I had to make notes, by the way. The nice dinner out, we actually had a gift card, so we only had to pay above and beyond what the gift card was. And I feel like for a whole month, that's very reasonable, and I'm proud of us for that. The other expenses that I had outside of groceries, which I had set the budget for, came in under budget. I did spend $125 on gas, which was interesting because I've never tracked how much I spend on gas. I feel like this past month I was doing more driving than normal, so I feel like that was probably higher than normal. And I'm considering that part of like my bills or expenses, like I've got to put gas in my car, but it was just interesting to pay attention to that because I've never done that before. The other things that I spent money on, the ESL certification exam cost $118.87. The actual certification was $78. I also had to request for my grad school transcript to be sent to HR for my new district in order to get my correct pay scale. That was $15. Other than that, I did have travel expenses. So I had 2 different trips in the month of June. I went to New York for that Google event, and then I went to ISTE for Denver.
I know these are expensive, but the lesson is priceless.
However, those expenses are technically business expenses, like taking a taxi from the airport to the hotel. I don't have a choice in that. I have to have transportation. So I'm not including those in the no spend month. So I'm considering it a success. I didn't cheat per se, but I mentioned using a dinner gift card. I also did use an Amazon gift card to purchase the study guide for the exam, which I'm very happy that I did. But Billy and I also sold an ice cream maker that we had, which we're gonna come back to this when I mention my new obsession. But about a year ago, we had purchased a Cuisinart ice cream maker and we just were not utilizing it. So I sold it on Facebook Marketplace and got $70. So technically, I feel like that helps cover up, like my little cheats of using gift cards. I also got an Amazon gift card by filling out a survey. Y'all ever get those emails where it's like, fill out this survey and you'll get a gift card? I did it and got a gift card. That was great. Here were my biggest challenges with the month. When I first set this goal of having a no spend month, I had no idea I was going to be going back to the classroom. I had not finalized that decision. I also didn't know it was gonna happen so quickly. And having this new role obviously brought on some new expenses, and it also forced me to have more like social interactions that required spending money, like the coffee dates and the eating out at Chewy's. But I'm proud of myself for still making it work. However, I had to get creative with the whole gift giving because y'all know I like to give gifts. But again, I made it work, so it's fine. Also, I didn't really enjoy having to keep our meals here at home very simple in order to save money. I do enjoy trying new recipes and cooking, but I felt like in order to save money, I had to keep it very simple. So it was like, let me look in the freezer. Oh, we have ground chicken and we have frozen snap peas. Let me throw together this like stir fry. And yes, it was delicious, but I did feel kind of handcuffed a little bit with my creativity. However, I think the benefits outweigh those challenges. So some of the benefits, it did make me a lot more mindful of needs versus wants and purchases that don't need to be a necessity right now. I also became more aware of just general sales and prices of things. I've always been good about paying attention to grocery store ads, but I started looking at ads for multiple stores and really trying to find which stores had the best deals on which items. However, that also took more time. So, that may not be plausible all of the time to actually do. I didn't get distracted by those online sale emails because I would see it and I'm like, nope, it's a no spend month, and I would just delete it. And I think that that was a good practice for me because I fall victim to those sale emails far too often. It did make my shopping in the grocery store faster. Billy and I previously were doing grocery pickup, which is great. We would place our grocery order in advance, pull up, they put the groceries in our car, but I knew that the prices are marked up a little bit. So in order to save money, I actually went and shopped in the stores, which was more time consuming, but I was able to do it faster than usual because I went in with a very strict list and I wasn't even looking at other items. In fact, one of the times Billy and I went to Aldi and I was like, we're gonna be in and out in 15 minutes. And I set a timer for myself and it became a game. Maybe other people wouldn't enjoy that, but I'm weird and I did enjoy it. I also enjoyed the satisfaction of using what we already had. So going through our freezer and our pantry and seeing an ingredient and trying to find a way to incorporate it into meals for the week. And then I mentioned getting creative with like the gifts that I created for my administrators and new team teachers. I also had, for Billy, he came home from a trip and usually I'd surprise him with like a little goodie, but instead I just wrote him a card that I already had. I also went digging through our like wrapping stuff that we have in the garage and found a Father's Day card from years ago that I had never used that I was able to give to my dad. And those types of little things, it just feels good. There also was a day when our gym was closed because they were hosting a powerlifting meet, but I needed to get training in. So rather than going to a gym and paying for a free day pass, we found a gym that offered like a free 3-day trial and utilized that to save money. So some of the things that helped, I mentioned shopping the sales and planning our meals based on what was on sale that week, utilizing coupons. So at HEB at one point, I used coupons to get a big bag of frozen strawberries for less than $1 and a bag of coleslaw mix for less than $1. Like, that just felt really good. I mentioned grocery shopping in person, going to multiple stores, but also the clearance aisle. So most grocery stores will have a little clearance section, and each time I went in, I would just take a little peek, see what was there. I found Premier protein shakes on clearance for like 74 cents. So I snagged those, and I don't know, it just became almost like a scavenger hunt, which I enjoyed. And then utilizing gift cards. And sometimes if you're like me, you get gift cards and you kind of tuck them away and forget about them. So this was a good chance to use those up. But that is it for my June goal. My July goal is going to be to complete a language lesson every day. I have been using Rosetta Stone to start to learn Spanish for the past, 20 weeks, I think it's been. But I've gotten to the point where I need to like go to the next level, but every time I try, it tells me I've already completed a bunch of the lessons. So I have kind of gotten off of it for the past 2 weeks. I just haven't been consistent. And noticing that pattern, I want to correct it and reform that habit. So I think I want to try one of those language learning apps like Babbel or Duolingo. So if you have one that you love, leave a comment, let me know. But I would like to complete one lesson every single day for the month of July. Now, one of my other goals for 2024 is to read 52 books in a year. We are gonna do a book update, but first, I actually have my book club today for First Class Teaching. This is my book that I published last spring, so I will link it for you in the description box if you are interested. Today is the second book club meeting, so we are going through the first 5 chapters of the book. In the first meeting, I actually read the introduction aloud to them. And today we are going through the next 5 chapters and chatting about them. By the time you're seeing this, that book club meeting will have already taken place, but you can always join in next summer. My plan is to keep doing this free book club. You get this discussion guide for free. All you need is a copy of the book, but I'm gonna keep doing them each summer until people stop signing up for it.
Recording in progress.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, Michelle. Are you having a good day?
I am, how about you?
Good.
Good. Where are you based out of?
Texas. So I'm on the west side, right by the New Mexico border. I'm from Morton. It's a very, very small district. We have about 433 students. So
wow,
we only
okay.
have 2 campuses in our district.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy to me because I've never been in a district that small, but I feel like you probably have that real close community family feel. At least that's what I envision.
Yeah, we do. We're really close. This next coming year, though, being from a small district, I'm always moved contents. And next year I'm teaching 4th, 5th, 6th, and 6th grade accelerated math. So
wow.
That's going to be a new venture.
Yeah, that's crazy. At least it's one subject, but still spanning that many grades is a lot. But hopefully it goes well and yeah, fingers crossed. Hi everyone, welcome. We're gonna wait just a minute or two for people to join in. I am gonna be asking if anyone wants to share a peach and pit from the past week. So this is something I do with my students a lot. A peach is something really good that has happened, and then a pit is something maybe not so good. So if you wanna just start brainstorming, that way when it's time to share, everyone's good to go. I'll go over some expectations for the meeting, but again, I just want to allow enough time for everyone to kind of get joined in. I know the time zone has been crazy, and then I've been traveling, so I've been in different time zones, and I'm like, I don't even know what time the meeting is anymore. Thank goodness for Google Calendar. All right, we've got some more people joining in. Awesome. Hello, everyone. And if you're watching the recording, feel free to like fast forward a minute or two once we actually get started. Also, a heads up, anyone who is on the call, as you can see, the call is being recorded, but it is only shared with those in the Facebook group as the recording for anyone who is not able to make the meeting. Feel free to have your camera on or off. It's totally your call, but just know that it is being recorded. Welcome, everyone. So if you missed my first announcement, I'm gonna go over just some expectations for the meeting. But in the meantime, start brainstorming a peach and pit from the past week. This is something I would typically do with my students on like a Monday morning. They would share their peach and pit from the weekend. So the peach is something good, and then the pit is something not so good. So if you want to just kind of start brainstorming, but meanwhile, expectations for any of these book club meetings. So this goes for this one as well as the one we have in 2 weeks. As you can hopefully tell by my lack of being dressed up, these meetings are totally casual, okay? Show up in your PJs if you want. It's summer, I don't judge. In fact, I will probably be in like PJ pants on the bottom and you'll just never know. Also, you do not have to join through video if you don't want to. Feel free to have your camera off and just participate in the chat. But if you do want to be able to unmute throughout the session to share your thoughts, I would love to hear your voice. And I want it to be very conversational. So it's not about like just me sharing my thoughts. I want you all to engage with each other, share your ideas, and just have it kind of flow as a natural conversation. We're not gonna go through every single question. It shouldn't feel like doing homework. I want it just to be a very organic discussion, and there are no silly questions. So at any point, if you think of something you wanna ask, please do, because as you could tell from my book where I talk about how I had no idea where the art room was, I thought it was a silly question to ask where the art room was. And if I had asked, it would have made my life much easier. But hello everyone, happy Thursday. Anyone else ready for a weekend? I feel like things have been so crazy lately. I desperately need just some downtime. But we're gonna start with sharing a peach and pit from the past week. So again, if you're just joining us, a peach is something good that has happened over the past week, and then a pit is something not so good. So I'm gonna start us off. I'm gonna share 2 peaches because it's been a good week. I just got back from the ISTE conference yesterday. So ISTE, if you aren't familiar, it's a big EdTech conference here in the US. This year it was in Denver, which it was my first time visiting Denver, so that was fun. And I got to be a learning guide at the Figma for EDU booth. So Figma is the team behind FIGJAM, which is a free online digital whiteboard. It's a replacement for Google Jamboard, which is going away at the end of the year. And I literally discovered it because I was looking for a replacement for Jamboard. I created a video and then they found the video and they're like, hey, would you come like be a brand ambassador at our booth? And I was like, yeah, I would love to, because it's a free tool for teachers that I love. So that was a great time. My other peach, and y'all are getting insider information, okay? Because no one else knows this yet. I haven't shared it out on YouTube, but I registered to take my ESL certification exam. I took it last Friday, so just before I left for ISTE, because I wanted to just knock it out, get it out of the way. And I'm happy to report I got my score on Tuesday and I passed, woohoo, so that's done. It was a big relief. Ironically, I got the exact same score on that one as I got on the Science of Teaching Reading exam. So I must need to play that number in a lottery or something. It must be my lucky number. And then my pit, it's actually not a pit for me, it's more so for Billy. He's been having some major car problems lately, and it's just been this like constant, hopefully his car runs and he needs to get a new car, but like financially it's just not in the cards right now. So that's been a little bit stressful, but it's all good. I would love to hear from y'all. Any peaches or pits, feel free to respond in the chat if you would prefer, or if you do want to unmute and be able to share, I would love to hear it. All right, book club meeting was a success. I always just feel so passionate and rejuvenated after getting to talk to other passionate educators, and my face hurts from smiling, but it's okay, we're gonna persevere. Let's go ahead and do a book update. I mentioned my goal of reading 52 books in a year because it is now the end of June. We're technically halfway through the year, but I'm over halfway to my goal, which means I'm ahead of schedule. I have read 30 books thus far. I have been collecting them all on an Amazon list within my Amazon store, so if you're interested, that will be linked in the description box. For the month of June, I read 4 books, which was my goal. Most months I aim for 4 books. However, the 4 books that I read were not the initial 4 books I thought I would read, but it's fine. I have this pile back behind me that I've shown you before, so let me grab the ones that I read. Okay, they are all different sizes this month. The first book that I read was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez is how I'd pronounce that, but I could be butchering it. So this is a fiction book, and this was actually gifted to me by Bridget, not the Pennsylvania Bridget, but the Bridget that lives here in Texas. I met her at a PD that I did at her school, and she is a librarian, so she recommended the Ready or Not book, which I thoroughly loved. And she gifted that one to me and then sent this one to me from Amazon, which was really, really sweet. And I loved it. It has made me realize that I think when it comes to fiction books, I was just not reading the right fiction books. I do not like thrillers, I've come to find out, but I apparently like contemporary romance, I think is the genre of this.
I practically make romance into a science.
But I enjoyed it. So that was the first book that I read. Then I read The Dip, and this is by Seth Godin, a little book that teaches you when to quit and when to stick. Fun fact, I read this one morning at like 5 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs so I wouldn't wake up Billy and read it from start to finish in like less than an hour. So this is a really quick read. And I felt like it was very timely. It's all about, I guess, knowing when to like stick it out if things are getting difficult versus when to like cut the losses and move on to something else. And I felt like it just kind of resonated with me right now. And as I mentioned, it's a quick read. So if that sounds of interest to you, I do recommend it. Then the next book that I was not planning on reading, because at the time I had no idea I was going to be going back to the classroom and need to get the ESL certification, is the study guide. Yes, I am counting this because I read it cover to cover. As you can tell, like I highlighted all throughout it. I took notes on it. I took both the practice tests, so this counts. Was it an enjoyable read? Not necessarily. I did learn a lot though, which was nice, but this was my third one. So not that that's really of interest to anyone. And the last one that I read was The Happiness Advantage. And this is by Sean Anker. That's his name. I loved this book. So I read it in about 2 days. I had read the first half, took it with me on my trip to ISTE, and I finished it at the airport before I even took off. I just enjoyed the way that it was approached. Basically, it goes through 7 principles for cultivating happiness, and Sean studied these different principles amongst a lot of students at like Harvard, and it was science-y, but not to the point where you're like, what are you even saying? It was more so like, all right, here's a quick rundown of the science, here's how that applies to your life. And I just felt like it had a lot of really good reminders. And this is a book that I would go back and reread once a year or something just to kind of refresh myself. So I do recommend this one. In terms of what I plan to read in the month of July, I think because right now my life is very fluid, all over the place, I'm not going to pick out my books in advance like I've done for the prior months. I'm just gonna set a goal of reading 4 books, whatever those end up being. It's cool beans. I'm not gonna get too stressed about it. I currently have, hold on. So you may have seen when I was cleaning up my office, which if you missed that vlog, you can go back and watch it. I was finding all of these books that I had acquired from half-price books or my downstairs bookshelf that I hadn't read, and they were scattered all over the place. So I stacked them all up and I had them sitting in front of the books I've read. So I'm just gonna randomly pick books from this pile. I might end up getting more books depending on, especially within the education realm, like things I wanna read before back to school starts, but we will see. Hopefully I can get through 4 this month. I may have to strategically choose some thinner books because it is gonna be a busy month, but we'll come back to that. I mentioned I had a new obsession, and if you've paid attention to my other vlogs, you could have guessed it is the Ninja CREAMI. Now, I'm gonna tell you a little story about this, but first, if you've never heard of a Ninja CREAMI, it is essentially an ice cream maker. You prep pints of ice cream in there, you put it inside of this, you load it into the machine like so, press the button, and it creates it into ice cream. So here's an example, because you do have to make these pints and freeze them for 24 hours in advance, but it will take this frozen ice cream mix and then turn it into some delicious ice cream. I'm gonna put some pictures up on the screen of recent ones that I have made and absolutely loved. Personally, I just love the fact that I can get creative with the ingredients, I can make a bunch of different kinds, and it works really, really well for like higher protein type of ice creams in comparison to other ice cream makers. I mentioned that we sold our other ice cream maker because a year and a half ago, I wanted a Ninja CREAMI, but I didn't want to spend the money on it. Billy, being the loving husband that he is, decided to get a different ice cream maker. And it was a lovely gesture, but it didn't work well for higher protein ice cream recipes, and we just haven't used it. And now that I finally invested in the Ninja CREAMI, which I bought it before the no spend month. I got it back in May. We'll chat about that in a second, but I have used it almost every single night, at least the nights that I have been home. So I'm definitely getting my money's worth. If you're not into ice cream, it's probably not for you. But if you're like me, you love ice cream, especially getting to sit down with like your own little pint, cozy in bed while watching a Netflix show or a movie, it is a fantastic tool. Now, I mentioned that you do have to prep these in advance. So you mix up the pint, I wouldn't call it a batter, mixture in advance, freeze it for 24 hours, and then you run it through the machine when you're ready to eat it. So I thought I could show you how I prep mine. Now, my Ninja CREAMI, I got it on Home Shopping Network. I was proud of myself because typically they run around $200 on Amazon. They would come with 1 pint container. I got one on HSN for $130 and it came with 5 pint containers. So I was very proud of myself, but keep an eye on the prices because they do change all the time. I just have the regular Ninja CREAMI, not the deluxe. The deluxe has slightly larger containers. I've just found that like I'm good with the pint. I don't need a larger container, but if you're planning on splitting it with someone, that might work out better. I will have it linked for you in the description box. You can find tons of recipes for Ninja CREAMIs online. I'm gonna show you what I do, what has worked well for me, but some people will mix in like cottage cheese and Greek yogurt, and there's a bunch of different options. So I'm gonna pivot the camera down in just a second, but an overview of the ingredients. I do a half and half mixture of almond milk. So I used an unsweetened almond milk, vanilla flavored, and then a lot of people use Fairlife milk. Mootopia is just HEB's version of Fairlife milk, but it is a lactose-free milk and it's higher in protein. I get the fat-free, but they also have like reduced fat and other options, so you can do whatever works for you. I then add in a protein powder. My favorite is PE Science. I've been using this since I was in college. I love that it is a whey casein blend, which makes it a little bit thicker than a typical whey protein, and they have a lot of really good flavors. I have almost all of them. Now today, I'm gonna be prepping a cookies and cream flavored CREAMI. This is for Billy and I tomorrow night, and they actually have a cookies and cream flavored protein powder. I don't own it. Once my no spend month is over, I am gonna get some. So I'm just using gourmet vanilla, but then I'm gonna be mixing in some of this protein cookie butter powder. This is from, I forget what his name is on Instagram. It's like Flexible Lifestyle something, but you can get this on Amazon and it's great for mixing into like yogurt and things. It adds flavor, you get some protein. It also has a little bit of a thickening agent. I also will add in some guar gum, which is another thickening agent. I use xanthan gum for like baking things to make it a little bit thicker. Guar gum works better for cold things. So I add basically a 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then a sweetener of choice. So this is like some stevia powder, but you can use sugar, whatever floats your boat. Now you can actually mix it right in the pint container, but personally I have liked mixing it in my Ninja like single serve blending containers just because it gets everything super mixed up. So we're gonna do about 4 ounces of unsweetened vanilla almond milk, 4.5 ounces. And then we're gonna do the same amount of the ultra filtered lactose free milk, which I'm using Mootopia, but again, Fairlife is what most people would use. This is just a little bit cheaper. Cheap. Okay. Then I'm going to do just over basically half a scoop of protein powder. So I am weighing it out, so I'm doing basically 18 grams. Now, this is my first time using the cookie butter powder. We'll see how it goes. Usually I do like cocoa powder, or I'll do like sugar-free pudding mixes, but I can maybe share some more recipes in the future. I'm thinking about 5 grams of this, somewhere between 5 and 7 grams. Let's make it 6. All right. And I am weighing it out just to be a little bit more precise. And again, I track macros, not everyone does. So if you don't track, you can be a little bit more loosey-goosey with your recipe. I do recommend though, if you are adding like guar gum, to measure it out because it's easy to get carried away and a little goes a long way. So I just do 1/4 teaspoon of the guar gum. And then the sweetener, just measure with your heart, you know, however much. And it also depends on like the type of sweetener that you use, because some are sweeter than others. And so you've got to know your taste preferences and also the strength of your sweetener. But then I typically will either add in like more almond milk or sometimes just water to get it up to the max fill. So I'm just gonna use almond milk because we have a lot of almond milk right now. Get that up to like basically the max fill line. And now I'm gonna blend it up. And then I just pour it into the pint container. Now, because I am batching this, I would go ahead and do like this exact same thing for the next pint. And because mine came with 5 pints, I can batch, you know, 4 or 5 at a time, but you can also get additional pint containers on Amazon. So now I just pour it in here and it should go basically right up to that line. Yeah, I've done this enough times, as you can tell, that I know my measurements pretty well. So from here, you just pop the top on. I'm gonna place this into the freezer for 24 hours, and then tomorrow night, I just pop it in the machine and I've got ice cream. I typically run mine on the ice cream setting. Billy likes the light ice cream, which has more of like a soft serve consistency. Depending on what recipe I use, sometimes just one cycle is enough. Sometimes I do have to respin, but then we add in mix-ins. So there is a mix-in button. Basically, you take out the pint, you make a little hole in the middle, and you add in anything your heart desires. Well, maybe not anything, but you add in like cookies or chocolate chips or graham crackers, and it will incorporate it into the pint. So we are gonna be using these knockoff Oreos from Aldi, but I have done chocolate chips, as I mentioned. I've done sprinkles. Let me show you my little mix-in, you know, collection. Please do not judge me, but these are little mini peanut butter cups from Trader Joe's, mini chocolate chips, peanut butter chips. These are mini like junior mints, graham crackers, Oreo cookies, vanilla wafers. Oh my goodness, these are my new obsession. The mini peanut butter M&Ms. Oh, so good. Fiber One brownies, and then like Biscoff cookies. So I have a whole collection of these in my pantry, and depending on what flavor combination I'm doing, I will pick some of these. Also, fruit. So you can like blend up frozen fruit and make like fruity versions of it as well. I truly feel like the options are endless. Now, if you have seen any of my other Get Ready for the Next Month with Me vlogs that I've been posting this year, you already know we like to end with my digital planning pages. These are from the digital personal planner that Bridget and I sell. So not the teacher planner, but the personal planner. It's actually an undated planner. So it's a one-time purchase that you can reuse year after year, and it's meant to organize your personal life. So it's different and separate from the teaching planner. But if you are interested, I have it linked down below. What's interesting is that when it comes to my digital teacher planner, I am team Google Slides. But for the personal planner, I do it on my iPad. I have the tablet version, and I use my Apple Pencil to annotate. I use the app GoodNotes as my annotation app because it just feels more personal, as cheesy as that sounds, to sit down and like handwrite in the planner. Now, because I have been doing more vlogs this month, I'm actually gonna skip over the June recap review page that I usually share because you've seen a lot of it, but I did want to highlight, I was comparing May to June and my ratings, and you'll notice there were some big improvements, especially in mental health. And hopefully that has come across, that I've just been much happier. I feel much more me, and I think it's because I knew that I needed to make this decision to go back to the classroom, and I just feel very rejuvenated and passionate and excited and all of those things. But let's go ahead and take a look at the July planning page. I love to sit down and plan out the month ahead so that I can be as proactive as possible and make sure that stuff doesn't fall through the cracks, especially as life gets busy. So every single month, my focus is intentional. That is my word of the year for 2024. It is what is on my necklace that I wear every single day. Let me scoot over so that I can put the planning page up and you can see it. So my priorities for the month of July, I want to enjoy summer with Billy. I know once August hits, I'm full back to school mode. So I want to make sure that I'm really prioritizing summer and my relationship. I need to complete those 30 hours of tag training, which I already have scheduled. We're good to go there. And then start proactively prepping work tasks, both for Pocketful primary and my business, but then also back to school, trying to get as much done in advance, AKA doing something my future self will thank me for, which I have a little note down at the bottom for that. My goals are to complete the language lesson every day, as I mentioned, read 4 books, and then batch 4 months of products. So I've been creating these digital mystery puzzles and digital escape room templates for every month. And then June hit and I kind of got off track. I know I'm only gonna get busier, so I'd like to go ahead and batch June, July, August, and September so that those are done and out of the way. Some of the important dates, we're gonna host Billy's dad for 4th of July. Bridget's birthday is on the 5th. I'm doing a date day with Billy. We're gonna go up to Waco because he has not had the biscuits from Magnolia Table, and even though I'm not into the whole Joanna Gaines Magnolia stuff, they make some bomb biscuits and the bakery is phenomenal. And we're also gonna do a Dr. Pepper tour on the way back. I have a sports massage appointment, and actually I had to reschedule that because this morning I had to schedule my HR orientation day where I get all of the paperwork finalized and whatnot, and I'm doing it that morning. So I rescheduled the sports massage for the afternoon. I have tag training on the 11th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and 24th. I had the final book club meeting on the 12th. We have a new staff meet and greet at my principal's house on the 15th. And then Billy's secret birthday trip, which I will share about, but not in this vlog because it's got to stay a secret. No one else knows, from the 19th to the 23rd because his birthday is the 21st. So my projects, we've still got his birthday trip. I'm almost done all of the planning. We're 99% of the way there. I have that FIGJAM partnership. As I mentioned, I have some videos coming your way that I'm very excited about. So stay tuned. August podcast episodes for Teaching to the Top, and then those digital template products that I mentioned, and then classroom setup at the end of July, hopefully, fingers crossed. So a lot of my to-dos have to do with those projects and whatnot, but I also put this little note at the bottom where it says, note to self, when things feel overwhelming, remember, one thought at a time, one task at a time, one day at a time. And I feel like that just sums up my life lately. But that's gonna be it for this vlog. I feel much better. After traveling, I felt all out of sorts, but I feel like today was a good day to kind of come back to my home base, figure out what's upcoming in the next few weeks. Next week specifically is one of my last weeks where I'm not super busy. So I would like to try to crank out as much work in advance. So a lot of those digital templates that I mentioned. I also want to start budgeting for classroom purchases because now that my no spend month is about to end, I want to make sure that I am approaching any classroom purchases strategically. So paying attention to sales. If y'all find out about any good sales, let me know. I know Amazon Prime Day is coming up the 16th and 17th of July, which I'm actually in tag training on those days, probably a blessing in disguise because it will help me control my spending. But if you want to see more behind the scenes of the budgeting, let me know. Leave a comment if there are any other specific things that you want to see from me before school starts. Obviously, I'm not doing classroom setup until the end of July. So between now and then, what would be helpful for you? But But otherwise, give the video a thumbs up if you are excited for what's to come. If you're happy that I passed the certification exam, give the video a thumbs up because I'm happy. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos, because again, these vlogs are just dropping whenever I have them ready to go. But as always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on or shorts because it's summer. And I will catch you in the next one.